The 1003 is really just more or less a conversation, right? The true nuts and bolts of it is the reason why you may feel anxious. I know how you feel. You feel like you might be missing something, or you feel like they might be bored, or they may not like you, right? So it's a matter of just understanding that as long as the conversation covers a few principles, like number one is you find out what their true intent is, their desire, right? So if you followed the sales training, I don't know if you participated, it was the MIDAS, MIDAS, right? So in that order, so you try to find out their intent. In other words, we call it goals, but there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. So the wrong way is asking them like, so what are your goals today, right? Because then you're giving them back the driver's seat and they're now driving the conversation. But it's too early to let them drive the conversation because you don't know exactly what their true intent is. At the end of the day, every single person that I ever talk to, their intent and their desire is the same. They just want to create savings. I already know that they want to create savings. I'm not going to ask them like, hey, what are you looking to do? What do you think I'm here to do? It's a mundane question. And so if I already know that, then I need to move straight to figure out what their pain points are, what their intent and what their true desire is. So I know their intent. Their intent is to lower the rate or leverage equity to pay off debt, right? It's either going to be one or the two. In other words, rate and term or cash out. It's no difference, right? It's either one. I can't do anything else. Once you read the script and you follow those lines, it's important you immediately drive the conversation, which basically you start gearing towards pain. You don't ask them about, little fluff questions like, so how's your day? Like, how you feeling today? Did you watch the game? It's too soon for that. You know what I mean? Like, they don't want to talk to you. You don't have that kinship yet. So when you start off your first open-ended question, one of my favorite ones is saying, so the property I start naming things that they're familiar with, because typically we'll have the address. In the event we don't have the address, then you could still say the property we're talking about today, this is where you live. In other words, this is your primary home, right? So if you have the address, say the property on Myford, this is where you live, right? Okay, got it. And you should have the property profile. So always have the property profile because it already positions you as an authority, as someone who's knows something about them. So it looks like, Matt, you've owned this house since 2006. Got it. It looks like you bought it for about 275-ish. Okay. So, and the last time you refinanced it, I see here, was with Quicken Loans back in 2018. Okay, cool. So outside of this, the mortgage, what other debts do you owe? Let's start off with credit card debt, right? And so now you're starting to figure out if they need cash or leverage their equity. So in the event that they say, I got no debt, right? I got some student loans, but debt's not really a concern. Then you know where to go in the conversation. It's going to be a matter of rate and term and how can I help him depending on what his goal is. So then I might direct to a question of saying, is your intent to maximize monthly savings or are you looking to pay the house off sooner? Now I'm either going to do a shorter term or this guy's just going to look for a rate and term lowest rate, which means even then, it doesn't necessarily mean that even if he has a 3.5, that I can't do anything for him because I can show him how to buy his rate down to 2.75. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So even if he says, I got a 3.5, I don't have any debt, I'm just looking to maximize my monthly savings. Okay, got it. So with regards to the condition of the property, because even if they don't have debt, I could still maybe talk him into getting some equity to improve the quality of the home. So a way to open up that conversation would be like, the property, is this going to be your last and final home or maybe a stepping stone till your next house, right? So I need to know how attached to the home he is. And so if he says, no, I think we're going to, retire here. This is going to be where we're going to live forever. Okay, got it. So now I know it's a long-term play. And this guy eventually wants to pay it off. But if he says, I don't know, we'll be here for at least 3 to 5 years. Now I'm thinking, okay, how can I make this guy the most money when it comes time to sell it? Either way, the question should be asked is, the condition of the property right now, based on what you ideally think would be perfect, 10 being perfect, how would you rate the condition of the home, the state of the property right now? And most often they'll say like 8. And then you can ask them to say, okay, what could you do to the home to make it your perfect 10? And then they'll start thinking like, my wife wants, a new kitchen. We need a new bathroom. I need new flooring, right? And so this opens up the idea of pulling out money to do the improvements. So even though he doesn't have any debt, and even though he has a 3.5, I could sell him and figure out what his true intent and desire is. So after he tells you anything he wants to do to make it a 10, you can bring up questions like, how much equity do you think that would get you? And say probably about an extra 30,000. Okay, that might help, especially if you plan to sell the house in 5 years. On the flip side, I'd say, oh, that might be great considering that you plan to pay it off. This is where you're going to live forever, right? You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Now they're a little bit more attached to your message. The gist of it is that most loan officers, and you're going to hear it from people around you, especially those that are not like you, that study their craft and try to learn how to be better, is that they're just going to go with the generic process. How can I help you? Okay, what rate do you have? All right, well, I got this 30-year fix. They're just selling.
Connected to Sales Remastered.